Hello and welcome to the Poor Redneck. I'm your host, David E. McClendon Sr. And today we're going to talk about when you're really poor. Now, let's pretend for just a moment that you've just lost your job. You pull up at work and you go to the door and there's a padlock, a huge chain, and an IRS seal with a note on the door explaining that the company's assets have just been seized by the federal government. In other words, your paycheck isn't coming for a long time. Today was the day you were scheduled to be paid, and it's not going to be there. Not only that, your credit cards have been maxed out as far as you know. You've tapped your overdraft, and you go back to your car, you sit, you crank your car, and the first thing you met with is the low fuel indicator light. Now, this is a pretty low place to be. But realize, you're not going to stay here. We're going to help you get over this. You're not going to stay here. God is going to be with you. God is with you. There's a lesson in this, a lesson to be learned. And you're going to learn it, and hopefully you're going to learn it rapidly. And you're going to recover from this. This is not as bad as it seems. Okay? Now, picture, if you will, you realize now that your furniture is all charged. You're paying for it on credit, on time. You, of course, have your car loan. You may have a jewelry store loan, department store credit cards, clothing bills, the Visa, the MasterCard, the American Express, the Discover card, all of these. You may have those. And now is the time that we're going to take an assessment of everything. We're going to rebuild from this point. Now, you can't stay here. Obviously, you didn't put yourself in this situation, but you're going to have to be the one to get yourself out. God is here with you, and now is the time to get together and assess your situation. First thing you're going to do, you're going to go home and you're going to get out all your credit card statements, your bank statements, your finance company statements, your car payment, insurance statements, all the different statements that come in. You're going to assess all your assets. You're going to look through and see, well, do you maybe have money on a 401k? You maybe have money that's due you from some refund somewhere. Maybe it's right around tax time and you do a tax refund of some sort. Wouldn't that be ironic? The IRS seizes your assets and you're depending on them to send you back some money. But you're going to assess the situation where you are. Okay, now, we're going to get even more creative here, which, not that this other's been as creative. But now's the time you're going to actually go around the house looking for loose change, loose currency, and shopping and gift cards. Go and look out in the car, look under the seats, look in the glove compartment, look in the console if you have one, look in the ashtrays. Look everywhere in the car, see if there's any coins, any bills, any shopping cards that have fallen out there. Maybe you use a shopping card to purchase gas from time to time, which is often a good way to save some money. At the Walmart, you can roll back 3 cents merely by putting the money on the shopping card instead of paying cash or using credit at the pump. Okay, now go in the house. Look in the dryer vent. Look in the vacuum cleaner dust bag. Look in every single pocket of every single piece of clothing in the house. Look in the desk drawers. Look in the dresser drawers. Look under the bed. Look, of course, you've got to look in the couch. The couch is always a place to look for change. Look in the seat cushions of the chairs. Look under the furniture. Looking through all the kitchen drawers, everywhere that there might possibly be some change. Now you're bound to find some. Okay, you want to gather all this together, and you want to see exactly where you are. If you have a spreadsheet program on your computer, like with Open Office, which is free, Google Sheets is a free program that's available online. Also, you could, if you have Excel and you're familiar with using any of these spreadsheets, then that's the place to start. If not, you can use a good old-fashioned pencil and piece of paper, and maybe a calculator if you're as good in math as I am, which is not very good at all. Okay, you're going to write down all the assets that you have. Then you're going to write down all the liabilities that you have. You're going to list what bills are coming due within, between now and the next 30 to 60 days. You're also going to write down the balances of those accounts that carry a balance. Like, obviously there's not a balance on your utility bills because the payment due is the balance in most cases. But you're going to write down on your credit card what is the minimum payment, how much available credit, and what is the balance on the account. With your car payment, you're going to assess what's the payoff, what's your current balance, and what's your payment that's due. Write all this down so you can get a general idea of where you stand. All right, now you're going to get together your credit card statements, the bank statements, the utility bills, things like your satellite television or your cable television, your internet access, your phone bill, your light bill, your water bill, your gas bill, trash collection if you pay for that separately from other things, any taxes that may be due. You're going to put all this together and give you a general idea of where you are. Look and see what kind of assets you have, 401k and that type of thing. And while you're doing this, get together your birth certificates, your state-issued IDs, this type of information, because we're going to use that later to help you in forming some other plans, but not in this video. Okay, now that you have all this together, you're going to call your family together. You're going to have a family meeting, and you need to decide, use your own discretion as to whether or not your children should be there, because some children are able of handling a situation like this, the stress of a situation like this, and others are not, and only you can judge whether or not they will be. But you'd be surprised what little Timmy will come up with as an inspiration. You'd be surprised how well the children can handle this, and you'd be surprised about how they may be able to help you determine something. Now that you have the meeting, you've discussed all the situation and told everybody exactly what's going on, now's the time for a family prayer. You pray and you ask God to bless your financial situation, to guide your decisions, to help you to be a good steward of the money that He's provided, to help you to survive this. Now, this is not going to last forever. God is with you. This is not going to last forever. Okay, now, you've had your family meeting, you've had your prayer, and perhaps you've received some divine inspiration from God as to what to do from this point. He is speaking to you. You will have to listen. Okay, now you want to call your creditors. Call your credit card companies and just explain exactly what's happened. Is there some type of deferment program? Can you pay just the interest on the credit card? The same is true with your car payment. Now, years ago, I was in the hospital for almost 2 months, and we fell behind on the car payment by right at 2 payments. And I called and spoke with Ford Motor Credit, and at first they were able to work out a deferment where I didn't pay anything. They just moved my payment to the end, and of course I would be paying the interest on that. Later on, a similar situation, and what they were able to do was to renegotiate my loan. I paid enough in to where they could extend the period of the loan and cut my payment. Now, this wasn't by a little amount. It went from $380 plus down to $180 plus. So right at a reduction of $200. Now, this is a wonderful thing. There are other things that you can do to help cut your outgo, and we'll discuss that. But right now we're talking about negotiating with the creditors. Speak with your banks, your loan companies, your finance companies, and they may be able to help you out with a deferral. They may be able to help you out by renewing your payment and getting you actually a little bit of money, putting some money in your pocket, and that may help. But there's another plan that I learned about when I was a collection manager and assistant manager with a loan company, and we called it RBO, and this stood for Renew Balance Only. Now, what this would do, somebody that was running behind on their payments because there was just more outgo than there was income. We could renew their balance, which would mean that basically we take the loan and make it be up to date, financing just the amount that's still owed, not extending it back up to the original terms of the loan, and not getting them any money or very minuscule amounts of money, but cutting their payment. Now this made it much easier for some people, especially if they could go to all the different loan companies, because a lot of times people back at that point in time, and probably still now, would stack loans. I have a loan here with company A, and then company B, and then company C, then company D, then company E, and after a while it gets to where all you're doing is paying finance companies and you've got no money to eat off of. Well, if you're able to renew the balances on them, then you're able to get the payments closer into line with what you can afford. Another thing is to do a consolidation loan. Consolidation loan only works if you don't go back and reopen the accounts that you've consolidated, which is something we used to see, that we would refinance something to pay off all their credit, and then they'd go back out to these creditors. And it's really easy to do, especially if you go into the loan company and you go to pay them off, and as soon as you pay them off, the assistant manager is sitting there counting out $10 bills into your hand. Listen, I can let you have $10, $20, sort of like on the Let's Make a Deal. And you get to the point where you're struggling for money and you see that you could get this money, you're going to go back. Well, you have to decide if you get a consolidation loan, you are not going to go back to this. Another thing to do is not to take out a loan to pay off utility bills. This was a mistake I made many years ago. I took out a loan to get caught up on the utility bills. Little did I know that I would have been much better off to just fight it out with those utility bills for a few months than to take 7 years to fight through these finance companies. Okay, now, while you're talking to your credit companies, keep in mind the little minuscule amounts that you may get from renewing your loan, and think about how you're going to spend that. Okay, call your utility companies as well. Call the light company and just explain the situation. And the same is true with the other utility companies. At this point, you might want to ask them what kind of community programs are available, what kind of charitable programs are available that may be able to help you with these payments. And you need to find out what the policies and procedures for these companies are, because some won't help you until you have a cutoff notice, and some won't help you if it's gotten to the point that you have a cutoff notice. So you need to know as early on in this process of what's available to you and what the proper procedures are, so that you can go ahead and get started with this. Now, in future posts, we're going to discuss a few other things, like how to make a little bit of money while you're waiting to rebuild, while you're waiting to get back to work, how to better budget your money, some ways of reducing your grocery bill, maybe some of your utility bills, and that type of thing. So continue to tune in to hear more about how to save money and how to survive this financial situation that you happen to be in. We're in your corner.